Are we live? Are we going live?
Now we're live.
A lot of people have been live on this account lately, so it's kind of hard to say. What's up, Ink Addicts? We'll give you guys plenty of time to all log in. I don't want you to miss a thing here, and then we will welcome you to my Fan HQ. And this is something that we're going to do weekly. Next week, we've already got Garrett with 1T lined up. He's going to be down in Owatonna, but it's on the internet, so you don't have to go there. And he's going to show us all of his fine collectible items. And the week after that, Joe Lonke, he is going to show us all of his collectible items. So if you want to feature your items either in a video like this, almost as good as this, or just photos are fine too if you want to maybe tell some little stories about them, go ahead and comment and let us know. We got a couple of weeks posted, but we're looking to do this for every weekend, whenever. It doesn't have to be this time of the day. We had T. Plouffe this morning, so maybe it's a Saturday morning special, maybe it's a Sunday morning special. So anyway, welcome to my Fan HQ.
All right.
See if you can get the really wide shot. It's expansive. Okay, so that's it. That's pretty much it, Ink Addicts. This is what would commonly be known as a mud room, but we call it the rock room because that's clever, because it's all rock and roll stuff, Brian Richards, so no collectibles. You don't get high on your own supply, no sports stuff. So come on in, Haley. You don't have to show me. Show many of the fine collectibles. You will see a theme here in the room, and the themes primarily are Liz Phair, a little bit of Kiss, and a lot of Jack White. So that's pretty much our theme here.
Who's Jack White?
He's a famous rock and roller. But right over here, this wall is something of our...
Oh, okay.
This is our Liz Phair wall. So I used to work at the Musicland group, and the coolest thing about the Musicland group, besides the people, Carla Wilkie, was some of the cool stuff that'd be all over the place in there. So gold records all over the place. So a buddy of mine, one of the buyers, Bob Tyson, he had some Liz Phair items, the gold records, her first and second records, and I was able to sneak into a radio performance that she was doing and have those bad boys signed. Deco Joe, black Deco paint pen. And if you zoom in there, she gave me a little heart there for her dot on her eye instead of just a normal dot. And here's when we got to meet Liz Phair. Mrs. HQ and I and Liz Phair. She's tiny like Haley, right there in the middle. And then we had this friend in the framer scrape that. I'm not that pumped about it. But look at Liz. Rock and rollers always like to do little stuff. Zoom right in there. She actually drew little faces on those dots. And then when I had this one signed, she was already done with the little hearts. I got normal dots for those. Down south, as they say, is Mrs. HQ's item that's out here. And that is a Trent Reznor numbered and autographed little lithograph there. And that also came from Bob Tyson. That was a Christmas present for Mrs. HQ. So, the original theme of this room was supposed to be rock and roll show, concert posters that Mrs. HQ and I traveled to see the shows. That's what it was supposed to be, but then the wall wasn't really filling up that quick because we didn't travel to that many rock and roll shows together necessarily, and they don't always have posters. These are mostly like actual gig posters compared to just fan posters that people make. So that was kind of the idea, but it's morphed from there. So now it's got anything that's kind of got a rock feel. So now we go to this wall. This is from our first Jack White item. That's from Jack White's Third Man Records in Nashville. The wifey and I recorded a song that we never want to hear again, so we framed it up on there. That's a little acetate record. You can do the recording booth at Third Man Records. And just below that is a Veruca Salt autographed, I guess that's the whole record award. No more records at that time. It's CDs and cassette. And first, we got Louise Post to sign it, and then Jerry Buttons and I waited out back, ate some street pizza, sitting out back of the venue when Veruca Salt toured again on their own, and then we got the other three, Nina, Steve, and the other guy who I don't remember his name. Look at the thickness on that. Look at the thickness on that paint pen, will you? It is juicy. It may have been over-tested, and again, that may have been from being overserved. I was actually, a little story about that day, standing there, really really pretty quiet crowd, and Jerry Buttons and I just kind of walk, and we're standing there, and apparently stood in front of the wrong people. I got hit in the back of the head by a lime. Somebody flinged a lime and hit me for standing in front of them. So there's that story. Down here, this one's more sentimental to the HQ crew. That is a poster that we had done by Bruno Press for Fan HQ's 8th anniversary. We had Dan Wilson did a house concert at our place here on the wifey's piano, and then Katie Vernon and Michael Rowland opened up. That was back in 2017, in case you can't read, and we had each of those people sign that. So that was pretty remarkable to have Dan Wilson singing some Closing Time in your house. That was unreal. The door here didn't really fill up with New Year's cards. We took down all the Christmas cards. Oh my goodness, you wouldn't have believed how many of those we had, but only one New Year's card. And who's it from?
Just Jared.
Just Jared. Liam, Waylon, the family. We love our Cobos, don't we? This wall, now we're out of the posters. So here we have a picture that I took at a White Stripes show in, what year is that, Haley? I don't have my glasses. 2006? Five. So, kind of interesting story. We went to the concerts in 2005 when they played back-to-back nights at the Orpheum. And we were about in the 10th row or so there, and a girl like OD'd and went down hard on the ground in front of us. And then while she went down, then I snuck way up front to where my friend Jody was sitting in the 2nd row. And so after the show, everyone was facing the other way and leaving, and I saw the roadie guy walking out with all the drumsticks, and then I said, "Drumstick!" And he just turned and he flung it to me, and because of athleticism, I made the one-handed catch, and now I have this drumstick. It's even got a little bit of red up there on the tip. Check that out.
It's used.
It's used. Well, look at the red drums.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Game used. Photo matched. Also interesting, there was a big bald head right there in the original picture, and I photoshopped that right out of there. So then we're here. This is just a Liz Phair autographed guitar. I only had the pick guard, and I got that signed, and then I found out that this was like way too expensive to put on a guitar for just like an autograph. I would have rather just had a cheap pick guard. That didn't work. Also, Liz Phair drawing, which is really cool. She actually made that drawing at some point, and it was put up on eBay back in the dial-up days, and I sniped in and got that while everybody else's phone was probably just cranking away. And she actually had signed it, so that was pretty cool. I went over to her, it was somebody who was her tour manager or tour team when she was doing the Exile tour, so her huge tour, and he pulled it out of a notebook and also had written stories that were in the notebook, so that was pretty cool. And he gave the stories, and I helped carry it on more, because again, like physical. Over here on this wall, top right,
that pen.
That is a good looking pen. Shaun, Ace Frehley. We're talking an evening with Ace Frehley. That was part of our deal. Ace signed that for me. It's amazing. I love coming around the corner and seeing that all the time. The two posters, this is kind of where it started also, were the Jack White shows that he played in Chicago. And on the way back from Chicago, I was thinking I should check in with Jack White's people and see if he wants to do something in Colorado when the tour hits Colorado. So that's how we kind of got to know Jack White a little bit. Sent a note to Third Man Records. They connected us with Jack's tour manager. We took some batting practice with Jack and Justin Morneau. I don't know if you've heard that story before. I'll be sure to post some images from that pretty soon. Down south, as they say, new additions to the wall, just above the dog dishes. Again, 3 dog dishes. One's just for show. I saw it in a picture, and so we got 3. Pink. Haley and Mrs. HQ went to the front and they left me hanging. I had to meet them in the car 4 hours afterwards.
That's fine.
This is the Night Running Tour, Bex, Spoon, and Cage the Elephant. If you have not seen Cage the Elephant, you need to see Cage the Elephant. That was the show we went to, Indianapolis, Indiana. And then we also stopped on the way to that show. We made a drive. We stopped at... Where did we all stop? We stopped at the American Pickers store in Iowa. I mean, it's fine, like if you're stuck in Iowa, maybe you want to stop there. I just would not go out of my way to stop there unless you need a new t-shirt. And then we found our way through Springfield, Abraham Lincoln Memorial and Tomb, which is, or burial or whatever they call it, which is friggin' amazing, and nobody's there, and I don't even think people realize it. But if you want a day drive, that was unreal, surprisingly unreal. So that was our trip to Indiana, and then we flew back and we left the rental car there. I wonder what kind of car we rented. Bouncing up and around, again, ruining the theme. This one, rock and roll show with Jeremy Ink Addict Johnson. Ran into Brian Richards and a bunch of the other Ink Addicts there. Gene Simmons and Ace Frehley got on stage, did a concert benefit for the Matters thing, and we did the meet and greet thing, and you got a poster on your way out, and all the posters were signed by different people, and fortunately for me, as an Ace Frehley fan, I got the one signed by Ace Frehley. And for Jeremy, he's an Eagles fan. He got one signed by Don Felder, so that worked out for everybody. And Gene signed all the posters. This one is...
Hopefully Jeremy's watching.
Hopefully Jeremy is watching. This was the poster for the rock and roll show in Denver, after the Chicago show, when I flew out and we took batting practice with Jack White, and then his people invited us to come and see their show at Red Rocks in the pouring rain, and it was amazing. So this is a love-hate for Mrs. HQ, because she had to work at the State Fair, and she said she would never work the State Fair, but she did that day because that's love. And then below this is the poster for the 2 White Stripe shows in Minneapolis, that same one where we showed you the drumstick over there. Oh, also, as a random aside, back in the days before digital transfer, follow me, Haley, I just thought of this. We bought this, I went with my buddy Tommy LP, and we bought some really great seats, like second row on the street, and they were super cheap back then. And I wasn't sure I could trust that they're real, so the person told us to put a lighter to the corner, and if they did not burn, then they were real. I don't know if you knew that. You don't need to know it anymore because tickets are electronic, but you can see that the corner is singed, but it didn't actually burn. It just kind of turned black. The ticket didn't catch on fire, and that was a little trick back then to know what happened there.
Cool.
Replacement show, God knows who I ran into there. Again, we're kind of working our way to the blackout corner. So that was a night where it started, where I was pretty sure I couldn't get any sort of a buzz on at all. Then suddenly, I don't know what happened, but it was a great show.
Up.
It was one of those shows where you were just happy to be there. I'm not even a huge Replacements fan, but everybody was so happy to be there, and that's what made that show so incredible. And then the art was cool too by Key, with the whole Twins tie-in. Another Jack White hookup. We went and saw them at the Brooklyn Bowl, and then you scratch these, and if you matched that, then you won prizes. I wasn't really worried about winning the prizes or keeping it as like a super cool like mint collectible. I just thought it was cooler all scratched off, so we scratched those to show it was underneath. Semisonic, that one's actually signed. That was a Dan Wilson one. And that show had to be rescheduled because the drummer fell on ice in Minneapolis during practice and broke his wrist. And Willie Nelson and Margot Price, that's kind of a twofer. That was a trip with just Jared and his wife and Mrs. HQ. We all went down to Nashville, mostly to see Margot Price. But as it turned out, in Nashville, you can see some other incredible rock and roll shows totally by mistake. And Willie Nelson played the day before, and it was a torrential downpour. It was unreal. Jared tried to sneak to the front of the stairs or front of the stage wearing a pancho. Like, it was so obvious. I had to turn and walk away because it was so obvious what he was doing. And this was another trip right during a holiday at the store. What year? 13, right? This is when Jack White was kind of doing nothing for a little while. So we flew down there to see that because we had Jack White and Butch Walker being 2 of our faves. Played at the Ryman. And then afterwards, we stood in the alley, and Brendan Benson came out and signed that for us. We got another one signed, too, because the wife had one, and that one was signed by Jacob Dylan. I think that's on eBay if you guys need one of those. Foo Fighters, my good friend Jessica from Media Play Days, brought us to that show, rock and roll show. Weezer, that was probably about a 5 on the 1 to 10 scale of how much to drink. The Armory show is pretty awesome. My dad was in the National Guard, and so we used to park at the Armory, which was really cool when it was an armory, so it's cool to see the building there. There's Jack White hanging upside down. I made it about 3 songs before everything just went black. That was a bad idea. Steve Root, I blame you quite a bit for that one, what you were doing there. The first concert poster that started this whole mess off was sleigh bells and then these super, super loud dole drums. That was from Metro in Chicago. So that's kind of where it started. I bought some of these other ones, but it wasn't really the idea of shows we traveled to. Liz Fair a million years ago in Ohio on a business meeting. There. Jack White, that's the Portland show. And that show was made necessary by blacking out at the Minneapolis show. And then I was like, I gotta see this show. So we flew out there and saw Jack White in Portland. Amazing time. Bring it up, Raconteurs. We're almost done. There we go. Nice tall Raconteurs. Nothing much about that. Saw my buddy Vandy, who's in the band Chuglin. So if you guys are Minneapolis music fans, you might know Chuglin. Raconteurs with the homage to Target. I think that one went fine. I don't think anything went bad there. And then the Black Keys with the grain belt sign. So that was a rock and roll birthday weekend. Yeah, we were working it all there. So that's it. So this is my Fan HQ. This is it. So that's kind of like if you guys want to get in, do a little show and tell. It's kind of the idea here. It doesn't have to be sports. Obviously everybody on our page, or many of the people on our page, are sports fans. Oh, also, Oofta Records. I don't know what's going on with those guys up in St. Cloud, but we love them very much. So if and when this whole sabbatical this lockdown is lifted, if you're in the St. Cloud area, stop by there, check out their records, because man, it's small business and it's a tough time for them up there right now. There was a lot going in that mall already, like lots of issues, but Jeffrey's been a friend for years. He was working at our store when we had the Rock and Jock in St. Cloud, and then he took it over. So if you're in that area, stop by, buy really affordably priced records, and talk to Jeff. Really good guy. So that was that in St. Cloud since 2017. So again, I think that's pretty much it. Haley, anything you want to talk about? I think we're going to do a quick hitter from Haley's place tomorrow. She might just run the camera on her own there. But comment below if you want to kind of show your stuff off, either in videos or in photos. I think that's the one thing that's kind of coming out of all this lockdown stuff, is people just getting online and sharing with each other, showing what they have going on, and being able to connect online compared to being able to just stop by the store and talking to Haley for a little while before she gets bored of you. So thank you, Ink Addicts, for getting in on all the conversations that we've been having with Cuddy and Marnie and Plouffe. Tuesday, Wes Walls is going to be on at 7 o'clock. We're working on something else, hopefully for Thursday, at least 2 next week, and then the week after that as well. So you can also comment with who you would like to see if you want to check that out. So thanks again, Ink Addicts, for sticking with us through all this, and we look forward to seeing you in person in April. But until then, bye.